Hey everybody, I'm meteorologist Gavin Sandel. There are many types of weather that you hear that only relate to a certain time of year. Think snow, sleet, even hurricanes as well. They're backbones of certain seasons, but super odd if you were to experience these during the off season. Another variable that can kind of fit that bill that we'll look into is the dew point. It does exist all year, but you hardly hear about it in the winter. So what is the dew point, and why is it only so important during the warm summer months? Let's get into what the definition of the dew point is, and it's defined as the temperature at which air is cooled for saturation to occur. And a higher dew point temperature means more water is in the air. And what you can connect from this is dew point and the regular ambient air temperature are pretty well connected. And it's very interesting to note that the higher that you have a temperature, the air temperature, the more moisture that could fit in the air. And what I'm saying right now, you can kind of think of another variable, and that's relative humidity. And that's also a decent measure of moisture, but it doesn't quite do the job that dew point does. Look at this graphic right here, and this is a comparison between dew point and humidity. You have two glasses right here. You have a 12-ounce glass and a 4-ounce glass. Then they're telling different stories about what's in the glass. Dew point is saying how much water is in each of these two glasses. Relative humidity is saying how much percent of the glasses are filled with water. And so remember, like I said, higher temperature means you can have a higher amount of moisture in the air. So this 12-ounce glass is representing a warmer day, and this 4-ounce glass is representing, let's say, a cold, dry winter day. And even though there's 100% humidity and 100% full in this 4-ounce glass, a 50% full 12-ounce glass with 6 ounces of water has more moisture in it. So actually, even though the percentage is less here, there's more moisture in the air on a warm day in the high glass than a cold day in the small, teeny tiny glass. And so this is what dew point gets over humidity. You get to have a temperature, and it's a pretty good measure of human comfort. And this is why we developed this graph right here. It's a dew point scale, and it tells you a pretty good story of where your comfort is based on certain points of the dew point. So 50 to 60 is typically an ideal comfort range. During the winter months, which is why this is not very usable during the winter, anything below 50 is a pretty dry atmosphere. That's why your lips are typically chapped. That's why your skin usually gets dry during the winter and not really during the summer. Once you get above 60 degrees, then it starts to get pretty muggy, pretty humid. 60 to 65, it still feels a little bit comfortable, but once you get above 70 degrees, that's when you're really starting to sweat. That's when it's that air you can wear I always mention on air. Anything above 75, well, that's quite uncomfortable. And what the dew point is today, we're just sitting at about 68 degrees, so it's going to be pretty uncomfortable, but it will still be manageable, not oppressive like it will be over the next couple of days. Well, I hope you were able to understand what dew point is, and maybe when you watch our newscast next, you'll be able to have a little better understanding of what it means and how it can relate to your comfort. With that, I'm meteorologist Gavin Sandel.